I'm Renata. I am head of rider for EMEA in the Central Operations team. Been at Uber for 5 years. I lead the consumer side, which means that I take care of growth, experience, and engagement of our riders. Uber is a mobility and delivery organization. We cover all corners of the world. We have more than 150 million riders globally and around 90 million drivers. And like I mentioned before, my scope is dedicated to our consumer base, so experience and engagement of our riders. My relationship with Chattermil actually started when I joined. We started as a small NPS-only relationship where we got insights from our consumer base. Nowadays, 5 years later, we are a global partner. We look into mobility and delivery, and we now have data for all the 5 mega regions that we operate. So I can start by saying that the first reason why we have a relationship with Chattermil and up until today, it's because we wanted a qualitative data approach to the consumer experience. As an organization, of course, I can send surveys and ask, how do you feel about Uber? But that will be a very high-level information, very open-ended, and it was very complicated for us to translate that into actionable feedback that we can then replicate to how do we build our products, how do we build our features, and how do we improve our services moving forward. There's 2 aspects that I think are very interesting when we think how do we use Chattermil daily. Every month, actually, we receive a report, and in that report, I focus on 2 big trends. First is the differences between the regions, and then within my region, the difference between the countries. Sometimes we're seeing a rise in positive or negative feedback on specific aspects of the way that we're doing the business, and then we can take a step back and understand, is this change global or is this change only regional? And how is that change affecting each of the markets? Which I think is very important when there are big differences on the way that we operate within these regions. So it's important to understand if in one region we're launching a solution that is actually picking up quite positively, that's a signal that we should potentially expand faster in other regions if we believe that it's going to cause the same impact, and vice versa. We also, in our largest markets and the easier to operate, let's call it markets, we also test things quite constantly, and then we can get early signals from also the consumer feedback if those are well received, so that we can fast forward or pull back if they're not being impactful. I really like getting into the dashboard of Chattermil. So not only reading the reports at a very high level, it's interesting, but it gives me the high-level trends, it doesn't give me the specifics. If I see something that is out of the ordinary or something that I wasn't expecting, I like to double-click on it and actually read the feedback. So if I want to dig deeper into why in Argentina specifically I'm seeing an uprise on discontent on price and I didn't do anything to actually provoke that change, I will go very deep into reading specific feedbacks to the point of diagnosing a very big issue in the country. So for me, that's very impactful. One really cool example of the way that we used the insights from Chattermil to actually offer a new payment method was a case in Brazil. We offered 2 types of payment methods, credit cards within the app and cash. But nowadays, if you think about it, there are multiple ways that you can pay for any service, from tapping your phone, from QR code payments, and even instant transfer wires, depending on what country you live in. So this was something that it was starting to become very popular within the country, but it wasn't something that we believed it was necessary for us to offer. But reading up on payment problems within the Chattermil responses, we could actually see consumers telling us that they would prefer a specific alternative payment method, which is called Pix. So that was a good helping avenue for us to make a case globally. And today it accounts for from 30 to 70% of the total payments in the country, which is quite significant. It's very hard to quantify Chattermil impacts because it ranges from very specific country level small changes or tweaks or products that we need to launch, but it also feeds up UX changes, like how do we communicate the fees and cancellations to the consumer, and those are applied globally. So Chattermil is one piece of a very large puzzle when it comes to understanding the consumer use base. It permeates all levels of the company. It fed from payment method launches, new features, changes in the way that the app is shown. I can definitely say quite significant. So it was always very easy to operate with Chattermil. I think over the years we came from a very small one-to-one relationship to now a very global, large one. And I just want to say that every time that we needed some change, every time that we needed to pivot or we needed more information or we needed a different way, it was always very easy to tailor it to our needs. So this is something that I really value with the relationship today, the ability to actually build something that it is what we need and not what you provide. The return of investment of this relationship is quite clear to us. We are able to do this at a global scale, which is not easy, not even if you build it internally. I would say that you get the return on that investment at a monthly basis. I would definitely like to expand the usage of Chattermil, not because people don't use it, but I want to get even smarter on how to read that information and make faster decisions. So it's almost like a new stakeholder sitting in our board meetings, confirming or denying that our strategy is the right one.